meeting for March 17th, 2015. If you haven't been to a meeting before, the way it works here is city staff presents on an item, then it's opened up just to the commission for technical questions. Once we're done with technical questions, we open it up to the audience. If you have something to say, please step up to the microphone, state your name and address for the minutes. And also, please turn off all electronic devices or put them on silent, please, during the meeting so we're not distracted. And let's call the roll.
David Boysak, Ed Bowen, Jeffrey Tomes, Thomas Wojtek.
Here.
John Hill.
Here.
Steve Cummings.
Here.
Kathleen Propp.
Here.
Gary Gray.
Here.
Donna Laurie. Robert Feigert.
Here.
Carol Nolenberger.
Here.
Approval of the minutes for March 3rd. Do we have any corrections or additions?
Move approval. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Right, minutes are approved. Let us move on to item number 1, Plan Development Conditional Use Amendment for property located at 495 Pearl Avenue, Morgan Crossing Apartments in the Marion Road, Pearl Avenue redevelopment area.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, welcome, sir.
Peter Youngbacher, applicant for Dawes Oshkosh LLC, is requesting a plan development and conditional use amendment for property located at 495 Pearl Avenue, which is the Morgan Crossings Apartments. A little background information. Subject property, well, a little step back a little further. In 1995, the comprehensive plan identified the Marion Road and Pearl Avenue redevelopment, or the Pearl Avenue area suitable for redevelopment. And in 1998, the city began redevelopment activities, including design of and development of development plans, guidelines, and the creation of the Marion Road Pearl Avenue redevelopment area, creation of 2 tax increment districts, 13 and 21, and the city acquired and proceeded with environmental remediation of several former industrial properties and construction of new streets and public infrastructure. And in the past 17 years, this area has seen several redevelopment activities, including multifamily residential redevelopment and commercial and retail establishments. Up on the screen, this is just a map showing the subject site or number of redevelopment parcels. Subject site is parcel G, which runs along Pearl Avenue, and it's got triple frontage with Dawes Street continuing south along the western edge and Riverway Drive on the eastern side. This is kind of a aerial perspective of the site. Right here, this is the subject site. This is Morgan's Crossing apartment building. It's a 51-unit residential apartment building. And the remainder of the parcel, this was originally intended to be a 2-phase development with a sister building located to the, let's see, this would be to the west, and we're looking south, so it's to the west of the subject site. The petitioner is requesting, let me go to the next slide here. They're looking south. Yeah, it would be east, I'm sorry. This is a site of our existing land use map of the current site, showing multifamily with the current zoning designation of C3 PD, central commercial with planned development overlay. And an aerial shot of it showing the existing development, again, the 51-unit apartment building and the undeveloped portion. The petitioner is requesting to, zoom in a little bit, is requesting to do a split of parcel G, separating the existing apartment building from the undeveloped portion. The developer is currently desiring to refinance the subject property, but the applicant is stating in order to refinance, they need to separate the existing development from the undeveloped area, otherwise they'll be trapped in a financial structure, which makes it very difficult or impossible for phase 2 development to commence. There we go. The existing building was constructed in 2008, and shortly afterwards, we're all aware that the housing market went on a downside, and the developer was unable to secure financing for the construction of the phase 2 sister or mirrored building for development. This would be the third amendment to this plan development. The original PD approval was approved in 2004, which permitted, with conditions, the construction of the two 51-unit buildings and a 1,200 square foot community room and underground and surface parking. In 2006, they came for their first amendment, which eliminated the proposed 1,200 square foot community room and instead added a fourth floor to each building to serve as a community area and as well as a patio and fitness center. In 2007, they came back for another PD amendment to allow for 2,250 linear feet of temporary construction signage along the perimeter of the building to act as security fencing during the construction of the Phase 1 apartment building. Yeah, obviously, to date, just one of the two buildings has been constructed, which was completed in 2008. And this is a map showing the proposed parcel split. The line kind of bisects the property into two, with the line heading south, almost due south, parallel to the east edge of the existing building, 17.51 feet setback from the existing building, so there's no setback issues. And then it continues to head south and then jogs southwesterly to the current south property line. It's hard to see on here. I'm going to go back to the air photo. The proposed lot line will bisect the current off-street parking area. It's kind of a turnaround area that accesses their off-street parking. So staff is recommending approval of a base standard modification for a 0-foot side yard setback to allow the property line to bisect this off-street parking area. If you look at the proposed development plan, it's proposed to be an internal parking or internal parking area where cars will be able to freely access both lots, or be able to access both lots internally. So staff is in support of the 0-foot setback. One condition staff is recommending is a cross-access and pavement maintenance agreement between the two properties, which will be reviewed and approved by the Department of Public Works. That will ensure that the existing driveway and future driveway improvements will be secured for the long term. The developer will need to submit a certified survey map to officially divide the land. If this conceptual land division is approved by a common council, the developer can or will be able to submit the proposed CSM directly to staff for administrative review and approval, and then be recorded at the Register of Deeds. The Department of Public Works has reviewed this request and is requesting a stormwater maintenance agreement be drafted between the two properties to ensure both properties will be responsible for maintenance of the existing on-site stormwater management facilities. And the applicant and the owner of the property is stating that if approved, this should enable him to secure financing for construction of the second phase of the development and could potentially occur within the next 24 to 36 months after approval. The applicant is not indicating that there's any proposed changes to the development, the approved development plan, but if any changes to the approved development plan are made, they would have to come back for an additional amendment to the plan development. So staff is recommending approval of this PD amendment and conditional use amendment with 4 conditions. First one is for the base standard modification to allow the 0-foot setback for the on-site setback area for the off-street parking area and the side yard. Second condition is the cross-access agreement and maintenance agreement between both lots 1 and lot 2. Third condition, the stormwater management agreement be put in place and approved by the Department of Public Works for between the two properties. And the final condition is original conditions from The original approval in 2004, Resolution 04429, and the amendment 06313C remain in full force.
Excellent, thank you. Technical questions, Kathy?
Is the stormwater underground?
Steve?
The existing site does have stormwater drainage systems that go collect the water from, basically collect and convey based on the site being basically 100% impervious in its previous uses. There will not be a stormwater quantity requirement for it. However, they may end up having to do quality requirements now with this next phase when that comes into play, depending on if they've kept their permits active or not on the site.
Did you just say that there are little collector
The
basins or whatever you call them that just go into the storm sewer?
Currently, that's what the developed site has. And I believe there is potentially an open-end pipe that collects southeast corner that collects runoff.
So something else might need to be required for this development.
They may need to do some form of treatment of this one. Have not kept their NOI.
Right, other time, Gary?
Yeah, I have 2-3 questions. First of all, just for my information, what's the difference between the, what I would call the map on page 8 of the packet to the CSM? I mean, is there just basically a technical difference or different people doing it? I mean, I'm not sure if it's an easy question to ask or to answer.
Page 8 is the conceptual land division showing where the new proposed lot line is to be located and showing the proposed or the approved development plan for the second building. Once they come back with the actual certified survey map, there's state guidelines for the form and style of the CSM.
Okay, so
And that-
so CSM is a little bit more technical, more detailed.
Probably, no, actually, it's probably less technical than this
Oh, okay.
particular. Yeah. It's,
Okay, second question I have is, it's my impression that what we're basically doing is approving a CSM. Are we going to have the opportunity to view the proposed new second building?
The development plan was approved back in 2004, and unless there's significant changes to what was approved in 2004, this one would come back to this body, correct? Just, it would go through the regular site plan review committee.
Yeah, the plan development that was approved in 2004 and amended in 2006 is still active on the site. This is just approving an amendment to allow the lots to be split. So the same development plan and constraints that go along with it and requirements that go along with it still apply. So you wouldn't see this again unless there was substantial change to that.
Okay. I am not sure why we're not seeing a CSM, actual CSM. I mean, generally we get, the commission gets a CSM, and I'm not sure why this is an exception to the case.
They wanted to get a conceptual approval before spending the time and money hiring a surveyor to start the actual CSM procedure. The applicant will be submitting a formal CSM in the near future to formally split the lot.
Okay. I guess the last question, at least for now, is there a time limit on this amendment? Because apparently it's going to take, what, 24 to 36 months to get financing and the design ready. And I thought basically a plan development has an expiry date of 12 months.
No, the plan developments are permanent on the site. The conditional uses have a 12-month if they're not developed. But the plan development's basically like a little zoning code right over the top of the site, and it's permanent unless they request it to be changed. So if the property owner were to come in to do anything different than what was approved in 2004 and 2006, that would trigger a change. a re-review. But no, and to kind of answer your question about the certified survey map, he's got to have that approved plan development change before he can even do the CSM. So first he's asking, can I do it? Then he'll come forward and do it afterwards.
But the CSM is just going to be reviewed by the site committee. It would not
Correct,
be
it would-
reviewed by the commission.
It can be reviewed by staff. You're conceptually approving that lot split right now, and council would approve
Okay.
it. I mean, you're making a recommendation, council would approve that as part of the development plan.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, that's all my
Okay.
questions for now.
Any other technical questions? Okay, seeing none. Open to the public. Anybody here to speak to this item today?
I'm Peter Youngbacher.
Okay, yeah, please step to the mic, Mr. Youngberg.
I'm Peter Youngbacher, the petitioner. I'm available to answer questions. I think the staff has presented the case very comprehensively and did a nice job outlining our request. This is, I think, a very simple request to effectuate a process of allowing us to complete the next phase of the development. So that's...
Any questions for Mr. Youngbacher? Gary?
There was some talk or consideration about putting in a street or road between Dawes and what's the other street, the dead-end streets?
Riverway.
Riverway. Is there going to be any kind of private or public street basically behind the lot?
No plans have been made at this time. It was part of the overall concept for the redevelopment area, but we're sort of waiting as development progresses, and then we'll make a decision.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else from the commission as long as Mr. Youngbacher's? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Back to the commission.
Motion to approve. Move approval.
Been moved by Bob. Second by Carl. Any discussion on the motion?
You can have it.
Okay, seeing none, call the roll. It's
Bowen,
Aye.
Hess,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
Carl.
Aye.
Yes. Gray,
Aye.
Weigert,
Aye.
Nolenberger,
Aye.
Warsack,
Aye.
Wojtek.
aye.
Motion carried 9-0.
All right, moving on to item number 2, which is the review and acceptance of the 2015 to 2019 Consolidated Plan and 2015 Annual Action Plan Community Development Block Grant Program. And once we turn it over to you, you can call on people, please, so I don't have to, they're just going to talk to you anyway, not to me. All right.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sure thing.
Okay. Every 5 years, the city, as a community development entitlement grantee, has to prepare a consolidated plan, which will tell the community and set goals for how we should spend community development block grant money. We're currently in the last year of the previous 5-year plan, so now we have to create a 2015 to 2019. Projects that we need to look at and consider in the plan must meet one of the 3 national objectives, that being benefiting low to moderate income persons, prevention or elimination of slum and blight, and urgent need. And to meet these, we look at low to moderate income areas, LMI households, and we establish priorities and set goals. We try and coordinate our 5-year plan with the Housing Authority's 5-year plan so that our goals and objectives are overlapping and meet each other so that they're not looking at one thing and we're looking at something else. Okay. Geographic areas that we look at are, again, our low to moderate income census tracts. Some of those census tracts have changed over the years. If you look at the map on the right-hand side, all of the darker red areas are considered low to moderate income census tracts and/or block groups. Those have, again, have changed from the 2010 census data because HUD is using different data that they pull together and are updating it yearly. So some of the projects that we may have looked at in the past in some of our priority areas are no longer considered low to moderate income census tracts. So we will be, every time we look at a project, we will have to make sure it is within the new guideline areas. Some of our information is changing due to increasing rates of foreclosures that we have seen in Oshkosh. We're looking at areas with higher density and rental properties. And we also try and coordinate all our numbers and our activities in accordance with the 2005-2025 comprehensive plan. We also try and do activities in historic districts and preserve historic property. We are working with a lot of the neighborhood associations that have been created. The map on the left shows the neighborhood associations that the city has in effect. And then we also look at blighted areas and how we can remove slum and blight and create better living environments for the community. We look at extremely low-income households, very low-income households, moderate-income households, and then we also have high-income households. Each one has different percentages and different percentages and income numbers that affect each of those priority areas. This is a map showing the housing units that have been built in the city of Oshkosh from the 1930s into 2010 and later. As you can see, a majority of the households in Oshkosh were built prior to 1930, but more specifically from 1950 and earlier. Most of the households have been built in Oshkosh. There have been a couple of splurges in the late 70s and into 90, but based on the data available, that these homes that were built prior to the 1950s have more maintenance and repair item issues at this time just because of their age. There's potential for lead hazard paint that would need to be abated and other income factors that would affect these properties that the city would look at assisting is in some way with these low to moderate income areas. Our primary planned uses of funds for CDBG money is our owner-occupied and rental housing program, lead paint abatement, targeted neighborhood improvement, removal of blight, redevelopment, first-time home buyers, and public service programs and projects. Okay, are there any questions on the comprehensive plan before we go into the 2015 action plan? David?
I understand support of what's doing, and I understand the targeted areas, for lack of a better term. But in any place in this, is there consideration for scattered site housing, that instead of looking at a targeted area and have concentrated areas to either build or move, for lack of a better term, and have income distribution throughout the community?
We are looking at various areas. If we are looking to use CDBG funds for those types of projects, though, they do have to meet the guidelines, and those specifically are for low to moderate income or low to moderate income areas. So the city does have some other housing fund tools that we are working with a lot of the neighborhood associations and some other areas in the community, as well as our general partners that we have in Habitat, AdvoCap, NeighborWorks, and Winnebago Land Housing Coalition to address different housing needs in the community and still meet all the guidelines of the various grants.
But I think it's kind of important to note, too, that we don't, even though our funds are spent a lot of times in LMI areas, especially the owner and renter rehab, we do try to concentrate as well in neighborhood areas with neighborhood plans as well. So you have that neighborhood buy-in. But yeah, we are limited on where we can spend the funds.
But that's a good point, Mr. Buck, because with our housing rehab program, we usually do low to moderate incomes. So those are citywide scattered sites. So they're all over the community. It's just the income limit that qualify for the applicants. Sorry, Gary, yes.
I got a couple of questions, but before I ask the questions, let me say, I think you're amazing dealing with federal regulations, because anybody who has dealt with federal regulations would know that they are very complex, very confusing, and et cetera, et cetera. And, thank you. I have a couple of questions on clarifications, and I'm not sure if you have answers because they may just be federal government definitions.
Okay.
And most of the times, you just say, okay, that's what the federal government says. Okay, I go with that. I don't know what it means, but anyhow. So specifically, sorry. On page 16, the table 5, it says medium income for the base year 2000 and most recent year 2011. Is the medium income the same as the area medium income?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Next question I have is, well, let's take a look at table 10, which is cost burden greater than 50%. The column headings are renters and owners and AMI, area median income, 0 to 30%, and 30% to 50%. In the classifications, do you know what the small related definition is and large related definitions are? Are they considering the size of the household, or do you have any idea?
Yes, but I'm not sure how HUD populated a lot of the tables in the plan for us, so we just kind of have to work with their data.
As I said, sometimes you say, oh, well, that's the government for you, and you go with it.
So I'm not sure how they came up with small, large, elderly, and, well, elderly, of course, but I'm not sure how many people they're referring to in a household for small to large.
I believe, don't quote me on it, but I believe it's 4 and below is small and 5 and up is large, but I could be wrong.
Oh, okay.
Previous
Okay.
life.
It's just so interesting to me, but so confusing. I just was wondering if anybody's no. So I'm in good company. Well, I guess that's all the questions I have in regards to this. Thank you.
Anything else?
Any other questions on the consolidated plan?
Nope, doesn't look like it. Forge ahead.
Okay. Then every year, we bring forth to you the action plan. And for 2015, the city anticipates receiving $725,849. And the city works under 4 major categories: central city development and community facilities, housing and neighborhood development, public services, administration, and planning. In last year's program, we used Central City funds for the demolition of a slum and blight house on the West 8th Avenue in the South Shore redevelopment area. This is a picture showing the existing house, the demolition, and how the site was prior to the snow melting. For 2015, we are looking to allocate $50,000 toward the Central City Development and Community Facilities account. Also from 2014, we did 2 demolitions on Jefferson Street, also slum and blight removal. The properties were donated to the city, and the properties were demolished just this past winter, and we will be working with our partners to see if we can develop new affordable housing, or we will try and sell the lots at market rate. Under the housing and neighborhood development, this is the category that we used for our housing improvement program and our rental rehab program. For 2015, we are looking to allocate $479,500 to the housing and neighborhood development program. Here are a couple of properties that were completed in 13 and 14 that are owner-occupied houses. We also did some neighborhood development. We assisted the William Waters Plaza in planting of flowers, cleaning up the area, putting in new dirt in the flower beds. And we had a lot of volunteers from the neighborhood that came out and assisted the project. In 2013-14, this current program year, we did 19 housing rehab owner-occupied properties. This is a listing of the properties. And as you can see, 10 of them are within low to moderate income census tracts approved by HUD. But again, we do look at them on a citywide scattered site, so they don't have to be within LMI census tracts. 2015, we're looking to allocate $85,000 to the public service category, and a maximum of 15% of our allocation can be used on public service related activities. Chart showing the different public service agencies that were funded in 2013. In 2014, we allocated $75,000 to public services, and again, for 15, we are looking at $85,000. Administration and planning. The maximum of 20% of the allocation can be used on admin-related costs. Part of this allocation is also for the Fair Housing Center of Northeast Wisconsin. They assist the city in making sure our fair housing regulations are being complied with, and so that category comes out of our admin money as well. The next steps will be the Common Council will review both documents at their meeting next week, and then the plans will be submitted to HUD by April 8th. The plans are available also on the website, or there are copies available in our office if anyone is still interested in reviewing the document. Questions?
Go ahead, Gary.
Gary?
Yes. I appreciate personally that category number 2 is getting a little bit more percentage. It seems to me like the grant money should be used directly for benefit of the low and moderate income. I'm looking at actually the proposed 2015 action plan budget.
Okay.
It seems to me like the grant money should be used for that and not for administrative purposes. and I realize there's some administrative costs. My question is, I'm not sure if this, well, this is, in my opinion, a planning question. The Fair Housing Center of Northeast Wisconsin, don't they get some consortium money also? Off the top of your head?
When you're saying consortium, do you mean the Public Service Consortium?
Yes,
No.
yes.
No, they're not a public service agency eligible for public
Okay.
service funding, and that's why it's an administration cost for the city.
Okay. It might be of interest to some face on the city website to get the breakdown, to give the breakdown of the general public service consortium payments so that people know what's being paid by the city.
Okay.
You know, just for informational sake.
Sure. Well, right
but-
now, the consortium is reviewing the 2015 applications, and we won't be ranking and funding those until April 14th. But we don't need
Okay.
to have those funding amounts established when we submit our plan to HUD. So we just know our maximum amount is going to be, and then we just have to figure out the funding based on that.
Right. Okay, thank you. Mr.
Carl.
Yeah, just one quick question, because obviously what we're trying to do is make sure that the consolidated plan and the action plan are consistent with the comprehensive plan.
Correct.
And I can't think of anything that would say that it's not consistent, but I guess I want to hear the staff directly address that, since they're much more familiar with the comprehensive plan than I am.
Oh, yeah, they're definitely consistent with the consolidated and the annual plans are drafted. Darlene takes that definitely into account. Our housing element of our comprehensive plan does have priority areas in it. Those priority areas are included in the consolidated and the annual plan. They kind of shift its way a little bit with the LMI, but that's how LMI changes. It's out of our control. But yes, it's definitely consistent.
Sounds good. I just, in the event something came up, I wanted to have somebody to blame.
Yep. Blame me.
Always need a scapegoat. Anything else? Alan, you have some, Alan has something to say, I think.
Just one little comment. 5 years when I arrived here in Oshkosh, we were getting well over $1 million for these types of programs, pushing $1.5 million, and you can see that it's a fraction of what it used to be. So that's really put some of the city's efforts kind of in a corner, in that we don't have the funds that we used to have when it comes to neighborhood revitalization and housing improvement. So keep that in mind when you're looking at other programs in the future.
David, you had something?
Yeah, I was curious, on page 3, just the wording of the consistency of the comprehensive plan, is that legalese, or is there a reason why instead of saying that it is consistent with the comprehensive plan, that as opposed to saying that nothing is not consistent or inconsistent with it?
I just think it was the way it was drafted, the way it was written.
Any other questions? Okay.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any additions or any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, call the roll.
Owen,
Aye.
Hintz,
Aye.
Cummings, oh, I'm sorry, Cropt,
Aye.
Gray,
Aye.
Iger,
Aye.
Nolenberger,
Aye.
Horsley,
All right.
Wojtek.
Aye.
Motion carried 8-0.
This planning director's report.
Yeah, planning director is not here. I'll step in for him. Real brief. You see in your packets from February, the month of February, all the items were approved unanimously that went through council. Your easements, street vacations, street dedications. A lot of that was for the aviation business park. But I also wanted to just give you a heads up and just keep you informed of what's going on with the zoning ordinance update. We're just wrapping up right now the next 3 sections, which are performance standards that include building design standards and site design standards, parking, landscaping, actually landscaping is a separate section, lighting, all this kind of site performance stuff, landscaping, which is going to be a separate chapter in this draft, and signage. So we're just finishing that up now. We expect to have something to send out with the next couple of weeks. We'll do another doodle poll and set up a stakeholder, and then hopefully, if you guys are okay with it, try to get another workshop with the Plan Commission like we did last time. Hopefully it's a day where we have a light agenda. However, as the nice weather comes out, the agendas, I think, are going to start picking up. But we'll work it in one way or the other. But let you know that those next 3 sections are almost done, and that leaves intro, definitions, administration as the last elements. And then we'll have to hit the map, which will be interesting. But that's just an update of where we are.
Great. Gary?
Yeah, just a clarification, David. We're going to get 3 sections the next time as a packet?
You might not get 3. It might not be in the next packet either. We're finishing them up right now, and we still have to talk with the consultants and determine how much can be handled in one section. Performance standards is really big, dealing with, building design and site performance. So that one we were thinking of possibly bringing separate. Landscaping is kind of a new concept. This new approach is a point-based approach rather than a required number. So it's a little more difficult to understand. So I'm not sure if we're going to bring them all at once, but...
Okay. I guess my point is just please, at least from my point of view, give the information to the commissioners with enough time for them to take a look at it, because I will take a look at that stuff, and if I only have a day or two to take a look at it, I don't have enough time to take a look at it.
Okay. We'll get it out as soon as we can before the meeting.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Done.
A lot of work. I'd like to apologize for being...